Well, a Muslim group in Australia has been campaigning for special Muslim safe spaces where young Muslims could voice extremist views without fear of being monitored. That sounds like a great idea. American Muslim Blair Imani thought taxpayer-funded safe spaces were, in fact, a great idea. They ought to be here in the United States, and she came on here to explain why. Watch this. So, Blair, what exactly would a safe space for Muslims look like? What does that mean exactly?
Well, first, I think we need to start by understanding that everybody kind of misunderstands what a safe space means. And so for me today, I'm talking about safe spaces being somewhere where you can be who you are without fear of being surveilled, having violence committed against you, or being harassed. And I think it's a good idea to have everywhere. America was built on the idea that we could express our religious freedoms, that we can have free speech. I know that's something that you very much believe in.
Yes.
And I think it's, you know, a necessary thing. And we're talking about safe spaces for Muslims. We need to recognize that we've been surveilled for a very long time. I converted to Islam 2 years ago, but for folks who have been Muslim and living in America, it's a crisis for them because, you know, you're being surveilled, you're being watched, and children are being affected.
We may have stop you there. Why do you think law enforcement agencies would put Muslims under surveillance?
Well, obviously because of the, you know, the counterterrorism efforts. But when
no, but what is? I'm sorry. What is that? Why would there be counterterrorism efforts aimed at Muslims?
Come on, Tucker, you're a smart guy. You know why that is.
I don't know. I'm a man who asks questions, and I'm asking a question about the statement you just made. What's the answer?
Absolutely. Well, there are, you know, acts of terror committed in the name of Allah that do not, you know, reflect the Muslim community. However, there is this,
well,
you
they
know,
may or they may not, but you'll concede this is not entirely random. It's not that the U.S. government or police departments are just like looking for some religious group to persecute, or is that what you're saying?
I am saying that, you know, the United States government has been in the business of doing that for quite a long time.
So why don't
right
they do
now,
it to the Amish? Wait, hold on one second. Why don't they do it to the Amish, or why don't they do it to Hasidic Jews? I mean, they're a set-apart community, speak a different language, not assimilated. But I don't see a lot of terror attacks committed by those groups. Have you?
It's not profitable right now to be, you know, speaking against these other groups. Right now, it's very profitable to be speaking against Muslims because it's, you know, feeding into this wartime efforts. More cells.
Okay, but look, I mean, we can debate the details here, but I think it's important to acknowledge a baseline, and that is that there have been an awful lot of attacks where actual people died in the United States and in Europe, committed by people saying really clearly we're acting in the name of Islam. And other Muslims say, you don't act in my name and you're perverting our religion or whatever. But there's still people who have killed a lot of other people in the name of Islam. So it's not like some mass fantasy that law enforcement is acting out of. This is a real thing, and I don't understand why groups like yours won't acknowledge the reality of that, because it is there. It's true.
And we also have this rise of white supremacist and, you know, quote, alt-right, you know, violence that's being committed.
Oh, spare me. That's too dumb.
It's happening.
No, you know what? Actually, it's not.
It's happening, Tucker.
Look, if you're reading only Salon all day, maybe you've been convinced of that. But the truth is, there are hard numbers kept by the U.S. government. Maybe they run on this plot too, that show exactly the number of people who died and how in terror attacks in the United States. And the truth is, there's no comparison. There actually is a problem with people self-identifying as Muslims murdering other people in the name of Islam. I don't think you're implicated in that. I'm not saying you are. But I just don't know why you're not more upset at them. I'm an Episcopalian. If they're Episcopalians setting off bombs in the name of...
I'm not upset, Tucker.
Okay, but what you're doing is coming on and lecturing the U.S. government for being racist and mean to Muslims. Why don't you say, well, there's a real problem in our community. We're trying to do something about it, but maybe they should stop like surveilling us so much. That would be a fair thing to say, but instead it's like it's always the fault of the larger society, and that just, you know what, that's just silly. Have you noticed that all identity politics kind of converges in the end? So it's not just about Muslims, it's about the LGBT community, it's about black lives. It's like, you know, at some point...
Well, some of us, like myself, exist in all of those communities. It's not identity politics when it's your life.
But do you also, it's, you know, okay. But don't you also think that primarily you're an American? Aren't we all first and foremost Americans?
I'm black first.
End of conversation. Thanks, Blair.